Yes, you sound good.
Okay, so
You sound good. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry.
no worries. Whether I can understand you or not, if you can understand me, then we're in good shape. So it's about time for us to start. Like I said, when I looked up the invitation, it looked like we had 18 users. 15 of you were supposed to join. So I'm missing uh, Darlene, Glenn, Robin, Talisa, Tom, Amanda, Dondra, Dusty, Gino, you're here, Melanie.
Yeah, I would say
Stephen.
go ahead. I think some of them had some other engagements they had to go to, and I just sent them a YouTube video to get the training.
Right. Well, we're also going to be recording this training, so guess what? They're going to be able to, you can also share.
Awesome.
And thank you for joining in, Glenn. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. So FYI, I am going to be recording this. So if you guys don't mind just keeping yourselves muted, unless you've got a question to ask, we'll get through this with a breeze, with the least amount of background noise. Good morning. My name is Sherry Johnson, and I want to thank you very much for joining me today. We're going to be introducing you to your new phone. It is a Yealink T53W. We're also going to be introducing the Max UC app as well. Moving to our agenda, today we're going to be going over resources. So just to kind of give an overview cap, as soon as this training is done, I'm going to actually be sending a closing email, Glenn, and I'll probably be sending that to you. It's going to have all the links that we are going to be talking about here and their resources, as well as the link to this training, this recorded training. You're going to have 30 days access to the recorded training. You'll have indefinite access to any of the other links. So I just kind of want to let everybody know. I'll make sure that all links are in that one email so that they're all in one place. And Glenn, you can share them as you need. So we'll go over resources. We're going to introduce you to the phone. We want to make sure that you understand what all those buttons are, just in case the pictures don't make a lot of sense. Then we'll go over basic phone function. This isn't about learning how to use a phone. It's about understanding the behavior of the phone. So we want to make sure that you are aware of how this phone is behaving. Then we'll go over in-call options and then other features. Now, we're going to go over voicemail, do not disturb, those kinds of things, but we're also going to include in other features is going to be the MaxUC app. And so we'll get into that here in a minute. So, resources. So where do we go for resources? Well, like I said, that email that I'm going to send Glenn, he can disseminate that to all of those people who need it, and we'll be able to have access to all of those resources that are within that. What I am going to do is I'm going to flip screens here, and this is the URL address to the green resources, and this is probably the most valuable resource that you can have or link you can have. So if you can only have room for one link, please save this one on your toolbar on your browser. because this will allow you to get anywhere. All right. We have two ways to maneuver, and I'm going to scroll. If you'll notice, over on the left-hand side, we have these links. Up here we have phone and headset options. You have hosted voice over IP phone user guides. Well, this is where we're at right here. And then, of course, there are videos. So if you need to have additional videos, you're going to be able to have that. We have a COM portal user guide, which you can look at, as well as a video. The admin piece of it, Glenn, you and I'll be going over that later. But then you can come down here and you're going to look and you're going to see where it says Max UC Unified Communication. This is going to give you access to a bunch of other user guides that you're going to be able to utilize. I am, however, going to, within my email that I'm going to send, give you specific instructions and take you to a specific user guide so that we can make sure that you get set up correctly. In the main body of this, you're going to be able to scroll through and find drum roll, please, your user guide. So this is going to take you so that you can access this user guide. You'll also be able to print that out or save it, just so that you can have access to it going forward. Sometimes having the written word is a lot better than having a video. So with that, again, those links are going to be a part of the closing email that I'm going to send you all, or at least send Glenn. Credentials are important. And Glenn, this is again something that you're going to need to do. There was a spreadsheet that was probably sent to you by Kelly, and it's going to have, call it the cut sheet. It's going to have your meta voice cuts, it's going to have features, all of those things. So we want to make sure that you get the individual credentials sent out to them, and what those credentials are going to be is that 10-digit phone number in column B, and then the 12-character password in column R. So those are the credentials, the ID and password that are going to be associated with being able to get logged into the MaxUC app, as well as the individual portal.
Hello, this is Glenn.
All right. And then next, we want to make sure that you know that Kelly is your point person. She is the person that you are going to want to reach out to if you have any issues in the near future, if you have any changes that you need to make, those types of things. She's going to be that point person, and she'll direct you where you need to go. If she needs to re-engage me, she'll do that then. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of let everybody know. And then the last thing I want us to do, I'm going to send you guys a chat. And so you're going to see that open up or highlight on the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And you're going to see where that bubble is, and it should say 1. I want everyone to feel free to unmute themselves if they want to ask a question directly. But also you have that option to just send me a chat. I'm going to keep my chat window open, and we'll be able to communicate that way, any questions if you want.
Yeah, don't sign in.
Moving on. I always, when I do that, get a little stuck. But anyway, introducing the phone. So it's a dynamic screen. Yay! You're going to see your line keys. They're going to light up. So if they're idle, that means they're not lit. If they are a solid green, that means you're on a call. Guess what? You'll know when you're on a call, right? So just kind of FYI, that will be pretty intuitive. If it's a fast blinking green, that means it's an incoming
you on your computer
call.
or your
Guess
phone?
what? The phone's going to ring. So you're going to kind of know when it's blinking fast, it's going to be an incoming call. And then the slow blinking is when you put it on hold. So those are the indicators that you're going to see on that line key when you are interacting with that device, or when you're interacting with that caller. Solid when you're talking to them. Slow
I just
blinking
emailed
when
you a
put
link.
them on hold, and it's a fast blinking when it's an incoming
There it
call.
is. Boom. All right.
We're going
Good
to
deal.
have two line
All right,
keys.
thanks.
Now I notice we do have 4-digit extensions, so I don't need to explain my format there. Each device is going to be programmed with 4 or 2 lines of their extension, which means that you can have up to 2 phone calls. Soft keys. These are the keys that actually line the bottom of the screen. They are also the keys that you're going to access that label that is directly above it. This is an interactive device, so right now when you're looking at those keys, you're going to see history, directory, do not disturb, and menu. Well, when you're interacting with the device, those labels are going to change. So we don't want you to actually memorize the labels, although you can if you want. We are just encouraging you to pay attention to those labels as you interact with the device so that you can identify when you can access a particular feature and when you can't. I'm going to mute a couple of people, just not me, so that we can keep the background noise from interfering with our recording. All right. Moving on to custom keys. Now, this is any key that we, and I use we loosely because it's not me, have not programmed. So if there is a key that has an empty space by it, it's a key that you can actually program as a one-touch speed dial location if you want. So this is something that is available. Then we have the information section. And in that information section, you're going to see not only caller ID information when calls come in, you're going to see the date and time of that you have in your current time zone. Now understand, you don't have to worry about springing forward or falling back, or if something were to happen, these phones are networked. So when the network is updated, so will your devices. So you don't have to worry about that. The status bar, and that's that bar at the top of the screen, and it's got icons. You might see what looks like a speaker with an X. That means you've muted yourself. You've got a check mark, which means you have missed calls, and of course if you see the cassette tape, that means you have voicemail messages. So anytime you have implemented something on your phone, whether it be do not disturb or the mute, or you've missed a call, those types of things, look at the status bar and it'll tell you what's going on with that phone. And then we have the navigation ring. And this is important because it's not a touch screen. So how are you going to move that highlighter? So you've got the up, down, right, and left. And when you're in a menu or you're in your recent calls or you're in the directory, you'll be able to move that highlighter to highlight what you want to access by using those navigation arrows that are around that ring. Let's move on to audio tips, and this will pretty much cover all of the buttons around the keypad, but there are going to be a few that we're going to save to the end, so just be patient. First off, we have a single volume toggle button. What that means is that this single volume toggle button will actually access 4 different volume controllers. What does that mean? Well, how do you access those controllers? Well, when my phone is at rest, I'm going to tap that and it's going to access the controller for my ringer. If I want to access my controller for my handset, I'm going to pick up the handset. And then I can tap that volume toggle button right or left to adjust the handset volume. If I want to access a controller for my speaker, I'm going to hit the speaker or headset. Now these phones don't come with headsets, so they are headset compatible. But if you happen to have a headset that you want to actually use with this phone, most likely it's going to be compatible. All you have to do is follow that handset cord around to the back of the phone, find out where it's plugged in, and you'll be able to plug in that headset and that port. If the adapter fits, remember that rule we learned when we were 3 years old, round pegs don't fit into square holes? Still applies today. Ha ha ha, right? So if you have have a wired headset and the adapter doesn't work, unplug the adapter and get a new adapter. If you have a wireless headset, you may have to just reconfigure the base. And the best way to do that is to launch your browser, implement the manufacturer of your headset, and then tell them that you have this new phone and what's the configuration, and you should get those instructions when you access the help. So anyway, so enough about headsets. So if I hit the headset button and light it up, I can tap that volume toggle button and it's accessing the controller for my headset. And then likewise with the speaker. So that's how you're able to use a single volume toggle button to access all of those different controllers. The last thing is you have a mute button. And this mute button will actually mute any microphone you have activated. So if you're using your handset and you've muted it, it's going to mute that microphone on the handset. So it applies to the headset and speaker as well. Making a phone call. I know this seems a little bit tedious, but ladies and gentlemen, it is about behavior. It isn't about making sure you know how to use a phone. Like when the phone makes a noise, pick up the handset and say hello, right? We all know how to do that. This isn't about that. This is about understanding the behavior. So, of course, we know that when we want to make a phone call, we need to get dial tone. And we have multiple ways that we can get that dial tone. But the thing is, what we're not going to be doing anymore is we're not going to be dialing 9 to get an outside line. Now, that's a trigger. That tells the system what kind of a call you're going to make. Are you going to make an internal call or an external call? And we're not going to have to dial 1 anymore, which means that that's another trigger that the system's not going to know. Are you making a long distance call? Is it going to be 11 digits that you're going to have to input? So this is the reason that the behavior is important. Because we don't have those triggers anymore. We have a situation here. So we have created the pause. And what that means is that typically when you input a number, you input it consistently, right? And then when you're done, there's a 2 to 3 second pause before the actual number is dialed out. So, for you post dialers, what that means is that you're used to picking up that handset or hitting that speaker button or line key or headset button to get dial tone first. And let's say you want to give me a phone call and you've written my number down somewhere in your notes. So you pick up that handset and you dial 214 because we don't have to dial 9 or 1. It's just 214-850, and you went, oh shoot, what were those last 4 digits? And while you're looking up the last 4 digits of my number, that 2 to 3 second pause has expired. Well, the system thinks you're done dialing, so it's now going to dial out that incomplete number. So if this happens to you frequently, one of 2 things has got to change. The way you dial, or being prepared to dial when you do a post dial. So if post dialing is not working for you, I encourage you to move to what we call a pre-dial. Now, pre-dial is something that we use all of the time. We just may not realize it, because guess what? You don't get dial tone on your cell phone. So when you want to dial a number on your cell phone, you go straight to the keypad and you dial the number. Once the number is all in there, you don't have to worry about that 2 to 3 second pause. Once you've got the number displayed, all you have to do is then just send. So how do you send a call? On your cell phone once you've dialed. I pick up the handset, I hit the speaker button, I hit the headset button, or I hit the line key. These are all ways to send that call out. So pay attention to the behavior. Don't want it to frustrate you. I just want to make sure you understand what the phone is doing and why it's doing it. So now let's talk about taking that phone call. Now I know you guys are thinking you don't need to teach me how to answer the phone. But again, we can either hit the headset button or handset button, headset or speaker button. We can hit the answer soft key. Now this is different, and this is something that you're only going to see when the call is coming in. With the soft keys, notice how they've changed. I could even hit reject and that would send the call to voicemail. so I don't have to listen to my phone ring. Or I can hit the answer soft key, because that button, and I know you can't tell right now, so you're going to have to use your imagination, that fast blinking green light right there on the line key. These are all ways to answer that incoming call. But let's say we're on the call with ABC Company and another call comes in. Well, what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to hear that call waiting tone in my ear. I'm going to notice at the bottom of the information section, I see where it says incoming to Jerry. I'm also going to see that the second line is actually blinking really fast. And I'm going to want to answer it. So how do I answer it? I'm going to hit that blinking green line. Oops. That green light isn't paying attention. So anyway, so all I have to do to answer the incoming call is to hit the blinking green line. And I know what you're thinking. You know, for a phone trader, she sure doesn't know how to use a phone, right? Because she didn't put her connected call on hold. Well, I'm here to tell you that guess what? You don't have to put the connected call on hold to answer an incoming call. The system will automatically put your connected call on hold when you access an incoming call. All you have to remember to do is to say, please hold, because the system won't do that for you. The other thing you're going to notice is that now, in our imaginations, we see that line 1 is blinking slowly, and we are in a steady green with line 2, because we're talking to Jerry. So ABC Company's on hold and we're talking to Jerry. Now I don't want to hang up on Jerry. I just want to get back to my call with ABC Company for a minute. So all I have to do is say to Jerry, hey, please hold. And then all I have to do is hit the blinking green light on that line key. And it'll allow me to toggle back and forth between those two calls. So to summarize, I don't have to put my connected call on hold when I'm trying to access a incoming call or another call that's on hold. I just have to remember my phone etiquette. All right, so now we're getting through all of that. We're getting into the stuff we actually want to know, right? So let's talk about hold and how to put a call on hold the old-fashioned way, right? Now, we call this a private hold, and the reason we call it a private hold is because each device has its own individual extension. So Dusty, we're not going to have your extension on my phone. And Glenn's not going to have his extension on Gloria's phone. So those kinds of things, the way we typically program, each individual device is going to have its own extension. So because of that, hold is private. That's why we have park. Because park is what we consider a shared hold. And you have the ability to park the call when you, let's say this call is for Glenn, and we saw Glenn walk by, and so he's not at his desk, so we don't know where he is, so we can't just transfer the call to him, right? So we're going to park that call so that we can then find him and tell him where his call is, and then he can retrieve it. So he can retrieve it from anywhere. So that's kind of what park does. Transfer. There are a couple of different ways to transfer, and we'll go over both of those, and then we're going to go over conference. So in this section, these are the features we'll be talking about. So hold, that private hold. We're in the talking position with ABC Company, and we're going to press the hold soft key. Now the thing is, you don't have any other kinds of keys down there at the base on the left-hand side or right-hand side of the keypad. So this is what you have to actually focus on, are those soft keys. Because when are you going to see the hold label? When you're in a connected call or when you're talking. You will not see the hold label when you're not talking. So we're going to kind of think about this as a little rhyme for you, if you like. We're going to give you those labels that you need when you need them. When you don't need them, we take them away. If you want a label and you don't see it, you're simply in the wrong place, or you don't need it. So keep that in mind when you're using this phone, because you want to make sure you focus at those labels at the bottom of the screen. So when we put the call on hold, guess what? We're going to see that slow blinking green light. We're also going to see the ABC company, and we're going to see the pause symbol, and it says hold all around it. So if you're looking at your screen, you're going to know your call's on hold. So how do you take the call off a hold? You simply hit the resume soft key, or you could actually, it's not done, but you can actually hit the slow blinking line key. These are the two ways that you can take a call off a hold. Moving on to park. Now, park is that shared hold. Remember, because you're going to have these parking spaces on all of your devices. And right now we have 2 by default programmed. If you guys need more, then we can reach out to the implementation manager, and they can make sure that they get that program for you. So remember what I said. If we can't find, if we don't know where the person is that this call is for, the best thing to do is park it. Now what happens when you park a call is it's now going to get held on the server. So it's not being held on your extension anymore. So it's going to free up a line for you. So that is nice. But the caller is still going to believe that they're on hold. Now, the second thing about park is that there's a timer associated with park. And this timer is how long is that caller going to remain parked? Well, the timer says by default that it'll remain parked for 2 minutes. Once that 2-minute timer expires, that call's going to ring back to the original device that parked it. So, Gloria, if that was you, then after 2 minutes, that call would come back to you. Now, a couple of things can happen, Glenn, and that is, first, I can have the timer turned off. I could lengthen the timer, or I can shorten the timer, however you want to customize that. Again, if you want to add additional parking spaces, you can certainly do that as well. But by default, we typically program just the 2. So anyway, so now that we understand park and what park does to the call, why do we want to use park? So the scenario is this. Melanie, this is you. I'm going to pick on you for a minute. You've now taken this phone call, and it's for Ellen, all right? And you just watched Ellen walk by, and so you know she's not at her desk. And why is that important? Well, if she's not at her desk, you can't transfer it to her. If you knew she was at her desk, you could transfer it to her, right? So now we're going to park the call. So you're taking this call, and you hit park. So you look over at your parking spaces, and you see that you have 2 green parking spaces. So they're both available. So I'm going to press the first one. And when I do, the place where I've parked it is now going to light up red. So I'm going to know that my call is parked there, because I'm not going to see it on my screen. So now I can get up, or I can actually, if we have the ability to page, you can certainly. Let's not worry about paging. Let's say we need to get our steps in. So we're going to get up, and we're going to say, hey, Ellen, I've got a call for you, and I parked it on 1. And Ellen goes, oh, great. And you happen to say, yeah, it's ABC Company. And she goes, oh, great, I've been expecting that phone call. Thank you for looking for me. And so instead of her going to her office or to her desk or to her phone, she's going to just go to the nearest phone. And she's going to pick it up, and she's going to press Park 1, and she's going to retrieve her call. It's that simple. It really is very, very simple. And it makes it easier. So you don't have to guess and say, hey, go find, put somebody on hold and then go find out where they are and then come back and then have to do something. I can park the call and then I can go find the person. And then once I tell them where it's parked, I can, guess what, go get myself a cup of coffee because I've completed my task. So I'm working a lot smarter when I'm using Park than I am when I'm, especially if I don't know where they are. So moving on, let's talk about transfer. There are a couple of ways to transfer. We call it the direct transfer, which is a nice way of saying blind transfer, which means that we're not going to introduce this caller to the person we're transferring to. Or we're going to do that announced transfer, which means that we are going to announce the call so that the person isn't blindsided, right? So these are the two types of transfers that we're going to be talking about. Now, the thing that I want everyone to pay attention to here is no matter which one you want to do, you start the transfer the same way. And those first two steps are, first, I need to be in the connected position or talking position. So if you, for some reason, put that call on hold, and it's on hold when you decide you want to transfer, you're going to have to hit resume to take the call off of hold before you hit the transfer soft key. It's important that we understand that, because when you put a call on hold, the hold feature has control of that call. So when I park the call, the park feature has that control of that call. So when I hit transfer, now the transfer feature has control of that call. And if my call is already on hold, my transfer feature can't take charge of it. So that's kind of how that, you kind of have to use, if you need to use that logic in your mind, how that works. So with that, you want to be in the connected position and you hit the transfer button to complete. Right? So how do we apply that to the direct transfer? So we're in the talking position. We hit the transfer soft key. We're then going to be able to dial the extension. Now you can dial an internal extension or an external number. Doesn't matter. Remember, we're either dialing the 4 digits or the 10 digits kind of thing. So only 2 ways to dial. So that's what you're going to kind of pay attention to. So you're going to input the digits that you want to dial, and as soon as you're done, you're going to see B transfer, and that's how you're going to send that call out like it's a hot potato, so you can get rid of it as quickly as possible without communicating. Now, there is a very valid reason to use a blind transfer, and that's the next one. And that's when we're trying to transfer a call to somebody's voicemail. Now, this is important because you're going to be in the connected position. But when you input the number, sorry about that, when you input the number, you're going to dial 7 in front of the extension. Now remember when we talked about those triggers that we don't have, the 9 and the 1? 7 is a trigger to the network. So anytime I dial 7 first, the network goes, hey, you want to go to the voicemail server instead of to the actual phone. And then when I enter the extension after that, it's saying, hey, not only do you want to go to the voicemail server, you want to go to that voicemail box. And so that's kind of what you have to say. We kind of call it the lucky 7. So just FYI, I can hit transfer, I can dial 7 in front of the 4-digit extension, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to hit the B transfer to send that call off so they can listen to the whole greeting. So nice way to use the direct transfer. Now, in an announced way, it's a little bit slower. Okay, we're going to take a little more time. But we still want to remain in the connected position. And then we want to hit the transfer soft key. Oh, there we go. And then we're going to dial the number. And then we're going to dial the number. And again, it can be internal or external. It doesn't matter which. And then when we're ready to when we're ready to talk to them, we're going to have that private conversation so I can say, hey, you know, I've got this crazy redheaded lady, Sherry, and she's driving me nuts. Can you take the call? And we'll say that Dusty said, sure, I'll take the call. And then you hit the transfer. But what if Dusty said no? That's when you're going to go over all the way to the right-hand side. You know, you see transfer on the left. You see end call on the right. You would hit the end call soft key. That would hang up on Dusty, and then you could get back to the phone call, your original call. So if we understand this process, you're going to understand how to conference, because you're going to take those same steps. You're just applying it to a different key. Okay? So we want to remain in the connected position. We're going to hit the conference soft key instead of the transfer. We're then going to dial the party that we want to add to the call, right? And we're going to wait for them to answer. And when they do, we're going to hit the conference soft key again to complete, because we've already asked them to invite. We've invited them and they said yes. But what if we invited them and they said no? Well, we would hit the end call soft key to end the call and then get back to our original. Now, when we're on a call, that is a conference call, you're going to see a couple of labels here. You see the split and the manage. Split does exactly that, because remember, it's you and two other people. So there's 3 people on the call with you that you're on, including yourself. So that means those 2 people, when I hit split, are going to become 2 independent phone calls on both my lines. So I can now talk to both of them privately and one at a time. Manage allows me to say, hey, I want to open up and I'm going to see the list of people on the call, and I'm going to be able to manage them by either forcing them off the call, putting them on hold, whatever it is that I want to do. I'm going to be able to manage their call, manage them through that managed window. So what I encourage you to do is have a little bit of fun, maybe get a 3-way call going and seeing what your options are. Now, understand we're getting ready to segue into the last portion of our call, of our phone training, and then we'll get into the Max UC. We're going to go over voicemail history, contacts, do not disturb, and paging. So voicemail. Important to note, it is very, very simple, because guess what? There's a tutorial that's going to teach you everything you wanted to know about voicemail and maybe did or did not want to know, right? So you can listen to it or not, but the bottom line is the very first time you set your voicemail up, you're going to want to pay attention. And to do that, you're going to sit in front of your phone and you're going to hit that button that has a picture of the envelope. And then you're going to follow the tutorial. Now, I know some voicemail tutorials can trip you up, and that's because you're not actually paying attention, because we multitask. And if you're not paying attention, you're not getting all the words, and you may actually make some assumptions that aren't necessarily there. So clearly pay attention. Usually takes about no more than 60 to 90 seconds, depending on what your recordings, how long your recording is. So anyway, so the bottom line is this. To access your voicemail, once you've set it up, you're going to do the same thing. But how do I know if I have voicemails? Well, on the actual device itself, you're going to see that little red light, LED light is going to light up and it's going to be red. That's going to be the indicator that you have voicemails. You're also going to see that cassette tape on the status bar, and that's going to let you know that you have voicemails. History. It's important. This is going to give you access to your recent call list. Contacts. This is where you're going to be able to view, add, and dial from your local directory, okay? So this is where you're going to have your list of people that are in your, that are on your network, but it's also going to be where you're going to be able to add people to that directory so you can personalize it to you. So you'll be able to customize that contacts directory. Now, do not disturb is important because it's going to tell the system that you don't want calls coming to you. You want them to go straight to your voicemail. So it's a toggle on off. So when I see the label and I hit the soft key below it, it's going to activate, and I'm going to see the do not disturb on my status bar. And then when I want to turn it off, I'm going to hit the button again, and it's going to turn it off. So it's a toggle on off to get you access, or to tell the redirect your calls to voicemail. Now paging. Now this is something I'm assuming you have Page. When I looked through everything, it looked like you had Page, but Page will be a label that we, and again, I use it loosely, will either program for you, or and you'll be associated with a button. And what you'll do is when you hit that button, it's going to dial the paging system, and it's going to open up. So it's going to act like a phone call. And so then you're going to be able to page, like, hey, Ellen, I've got a call parked for you on 1. So those things, so paging and the park feature are really cool to work hand in hand. When you're done speaking, you're going to hang up. Now, I always encourage people, since you're on a phone call, remember the labels that you saw at the bottom of the screen when you were on a phone call? You saw the end call soft key. I encourage you to use that before you put your handset back in the cradle, so we don't have to listen to the clankety clank clank. Moving on, this is where we're going to segue right into your application. So we're going to be talking about the MaxUC app. Now I want to just kind of reiterate here. For those of you that need to go someplace to download, there's going to be this link. Again, I'm going to provide that to you when we go through the closing, so Glenn, make sure that you can disseminate that out to everybody. Now, the thing is this. If you're downloading it to your cell phone, you don't need these links here because you've got an app store. All you need is to know what the icon looks like when you put in MaxUC, so that you make sure that you download the correct app. Okay, that's one. But on your PC and on your desktop, you don't always have that App Store access. So this is where you can actually, if you are using the Mac platform, so you've got an Apple product, you can hit here, or if you've got the Windows client, which is, you know, regular PC format, you can click here. So it will download the version for your specific phone or desktop or laptop type. If you're doing it on your tablet, you probably have access to an app store. If you're doing it on your cell phone, you have access to an app store. So you don't necessarily need to come up here and access it from here on your cell phone. It might be easier to go to the app store. And then the next thing I want us to pay attention to, let me see if I can find it. Is it right here? There it is. This is a user guide that pretty much is going to walk you through, just like I'm going to walk you through here during training. It might go into a little more detail than I'm going to go into because we only have so much time. So we want to make sure that you have access to this. So again, that's going to be a link that's going to get disseminated as soon as we get through with training. So it's a companion app. So you're thinking, okay, what is it? So you're thinking, okay, what is it, Sherry? you tell me how to get it now. What is it? Well, what is it? It's a companion app. So it's going to be that app that you're going to be able to use. I don't know how many of you have know about instant messaging. You know, you can download those kinds of information. You can also use your texting on your cell phone. You can use email. You can use phone. So we communicate using a lot of different apps. And what the Max UC is going to do is it's going to allow you to communicate and keep that communication on your network. So maybe in the olden days before the app, you would forward your calls to your cell phone. Well, when you forward your calls to your cell phone, you've now forwarded it off your network, and you're now using the cell phone service is now managing that phone call. Whereas when you download this app and a call comes in on your network, it's going to ring through the app so you can keep it on the network, which makes it really, really cool. So, and you're going to be able to use it on multiple devices, so which makes it nice. So you don't have to be tied to one location if you want to make sure you're waiting for a phone call. So it's going to give you that flexibility to handle those business calls. And it's going to allow, you're going to be able to use it on any of your mobile and or computer. And you notice that it said and. So again, I have this app on my desktop, I have it on a tablet, and I have it on my iPhone. So I have it on three different devices. So it makes it easy for me. So no matter what it is I'm doing, I'm going to be able to have access to any of those phone calls or communication that I'm going to need. So getting started, you need to obtain those credentials. And remember what those credentials are. It's a 10-digit phone number that's associated with your name on the cut sheet. Everyone has a unique 10-digit phone number. If you didn't know that before, you now know it. And you're going to need that 12-character password. And when I say character, that's what I mean, because it is not an alphanumeric. It is a 12-character password. We take our security seriously. So then you're going to install the app. Now, there are two things you need to look for when you install the app. First off, you're looking for this icon if you're doing it on your phone. It's important that you pay attention to that icon when you're doing it, when you're downloading it from the App Store. The first thing it's going to ask you once you start the download process to log in, it's going to ask you who your carrier is. Your carrier is telesystem. Your carrier is not the cell phone provider, and it's not your long distance provider that you use on your phone itself. Your carrier is telesystem. It's important that we get that right, because otherwise it won't work. The next thing it's going to ask, which isn't quite as crucial, but unless of course you like building things over and over and over and over and over again, it's going to ask if you want to sync up to your contacts. Now, if you're syncing up to your contacts on your cell phone, it's typically going to be contacts, because contacts are usually held in your phone app. You know, all of those contacts that you have there, your email links to that, all of that stuff links to everything, things that you'll have on your cell phone. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to do, if you're syncing up to it on your desktop or laptop, it's going to then access your email app that you use there. So just kind of note your apps, it's going to want to sync up to wherever your contacts are. So just kind of pay attention to that. I encourage you to do so, otherwise you're going to have to rebuild it. I don't know about you, but I probably have 75 to 80% of the contacts that are in any of my lists are business, except for that wedding. I made a wedding list, and those are all personal. So the thing is here, just kind of pay attention to that and make your decision. Then you're going to log in. So when you log in, you're going to use that 10-digit phone number, and you're going to use that 12-character password. And this is what it's going to look like. Now, this is what's important to understand. Like most apps, When you close them, they're running in the background. This is no different. So if I want to unplug, I want to log out. And to do that, you're going to go up there and you're going to click that icon that looks like a profile. And you're going to click it and it's going to open up a menu. You're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and you're going to hit log out to actually log out. Now, some people will say, well, does that mean I have to log out of every single app that I downloaded? Well, technically, yes, but
on your desktop,
hear me out. On your desktop, what do you do at the end of the day?
and when you log out of your
You log out.
or a desktop,
And when you log out of your laptop or a desktop, you're going to log out of the app. If you don't have a desktop, exclusive, you have a laptop. Well, like me, because I have a laptop and 2 monitors. So when I log out of my laptop, it logs me out of the app on that particular device. Guess what? If I've got a tablet, I typically turn that off when I'm not using it. Why? Because I don't want to waste my battery. Right? Your cell phone is the only device that you do not typically log out of. We don't even log out of it to charge it, right? Because it has to be on in order to charge. So this is the only device that you really have to worry about logging out of. It's kind of simple logic. So don't think of it as all of the devices that I have. Just think of it in terms of whatever devices you're going to leave on. So anyway, so FYI, if I have to unplug, please log out. And I've showed you how to do that. Now there is a simpler way to actually make sure that calls aren't coming to you. Do you remember what I talked to you about Do Not Disturb? That when you activate the Do Not Disturb, it tells the system to send calls to your voicemail. Well, if you hit that same button or that same icon in the upper right hand corner and you open up that menu, the very first item on that menu is called Call Manager and it says available. And if you tap that, it's going to open a screen and you're going to see where you can actually activate the Do Not Disturb. And if you activate the Do Not Disturb, it doesn't matter which device you activate it on it, whether it's the phone, whether it's whatever app, it's going to Do Not Disturb across all of your devices, which makes it really, really cool. So just to kind of FYI, 2 different ways to unplug. So let's talk about the format. Now this is something I'm going to do because we've recently come across the kind of an upgrade. So what you're seeing on one side that's covering up all of that text you're going to see here in a minute is the new format on your desktop or laptop. The picture on the left-hand side is what you're actually going to see on your cell phone. So it's still relevant. And I just kind of want to point out a couple of things. Okay? As far as the new look here, the new look used to be just this. So this is kind of what we have here. And instead of having this blue bar here, it went across the top kind of thing. So just understand the slightly different format. So this is what you're going to see. So your toolbar is going to be on the left-hand side. And you're going to have, again, the profile, that list. Remember what I talked about online and log off? Well, it says Call Manager on the cell phone part, and you're able to then hit the Do Not Disturb and kind of, open that up. Okay? So just to kind of FYI, gave you a chance to see that. But what you're going to see, whereas you see these icons down across the bottom, you're going to see these icons that are going to be, we call that your navigation menu. And it allows you to look at your text or people, your contacts, your phone, your texts, And then for me would be meetings. I don't have any. But if you don't have the meeting piece, that's fine. But the other thing is going to have your voicemail. And this is what you're going to be able to do on your PC, okay? So on your desktop or laptop. I'm going to go here, and it's going to open up a URL, and it's going to allow me to access my voicemails online. And I'm going to be able to view new messages. I'm going to be able to view if I have the fax capability. I'm going to delete. I also have the ability to access my changing my password, and that's that portal password or the Max UC password. You're also going to be able to change your voicemail pin. So these are things that you're going to be able to access and affect yourself just by the click. But again, that's the only access that you're not going to have on your cell phone. It's not something that's available through the cell phone. Okay, so just a kind of FYI, some really cool things are coming down, and I just kind of wanted us to kind of point that out. And I'll get back to my slide presentation here. So, what are we typically going to see under contacts? We're going to be able to manage our contacts, initiate calls, initiate chats, and initiate or add new contacts. Now, this is what I'm going to say. How many people of you have an iPhone? I'm looking. Some of you have video, some of you don't. So you have an Apple or iPhone. So if you had that, then what you'd be able to see would be, I happen to have a son who has an iPhone, so he has the same platform as me. And I have a son who does not. He has an Android. Yeah, so anyway, so when I'm calling my son with the same platform as I do, I'm able to communicate more. I'm able to access FaceTime. I'm able to do a lot more with him in communicating than I am with my son that has the Android. But what's really interesting is that when I highlight their contact information in my contacts, I'm able to tell what I can and cannot do when I open their contacts. My contact is going to tell me, am I only going to be able to make a phone call? Am I going to be able to text them? How am I going to be able to communicate with that person? So I'm going to have that information at my fingertips. So it's not something that you have to guess at and you have to worry about, is it going to work or not? Now, I'm going to make a point that if the SMS service has been added to your Max UC, then you'll be able to not only text on your network or on your same platform, you'll be able to text across platforms. So just kind of FYI to note that. The other thing you're going to be able to see is when people are in, when they're available, when they're on a call, when they've activated Do Not Disturb, when they're offline. So these are all really cool stuff. Now you guys are a large enough company, you're going to be able to tell this stuff within your own organization without having to wonder, do I have to step outside my office to find out who is who and who is where and what's going on, right? And I like that about the app. I can just do a quick glance and go, oh, Bill's in a meeting. I'm not going to worry about disturbing him right now. So I have the ability to not just see if they're on the phone or not. I have the ability to see if they've activated the Do Not Disturb, if they've customized their Do Not Disturb things that say I'm in a meeting, I'm out of the office, I'm on vacation, I took PTO, whatever it is that you want to personally create. So you have the ability to customize these things, and you have the ability to tell when people are using them. Now the phone app or the phone tab, okay, it's going to allow you to view your history. It's going to allow you to listen to voicemails, because you'll notice up at the top you're going to see your voicemail tab. Now remember, in the other version, that tab was at the, that on your menu, it was at the bottom and it was exclusive and it took you somewhere. But here it's just going to take you to a certain screen. So you're going to be able to listen to your voicemails, redial using the recent list, and then you can also make the calls by hitting that green bubble that has the keypad in it. Now, here, let's look at the very top one. We see the gray handset with the red arrow. That indicates a missed call. If you go down to the second one, you see the gray handset with the blue arrow. That's a placed call. If you come all the way down to the bottom and you see the gray handset with the green arrow, drum roll, right? That's a received call. So you clearly are going to know what's misplaced or received on your recent call list. Now, the other thing we want to make sure that we understand is we want to manage the voicemails. And to do that, we're going to go up to the top and we're going to highlight the voicemail tab. And when we do, we're going to see all of our voicemails all in one place. Now, I don't know if I shared with you, you'll actually have 3 ways to check your voicemail. From the phone itself, right? From the app, but you're also, when a voicemail is left, it's going to highlight, or it's going to generate an email with a copy of that voicemail attached to it, and it's going to send it to your inbox. Now, I am one of those people that I actually use all 3 ways because one, it may be more convenient than other at a particular time. So this is the thing. I don't like to necessarily check my voicemails via email exclusively because I get, if I am not staying on top of it, like right now, I've had 2 back-to-back trainings, so guess what? My inbox is probably going to have over 100 emails in it. Yeah. And do I have to filter my voicemails through that, all of that information? It's not convenient for me. So I like using the app because it's going to keep my voicemail. And they're all going to be in one little place. Now, why, you say, why would I want to use my email? Why do I still want to use that service? Well, because periodically, not often, I mean, not even once a week, might be once every other week, there's a voicemail that I want to save longer than the voicemail server will allow me to. And when I get it via email, I'm able to download that and save it to my hard drive, which is important, right? For me. It could be as simple as my grandkids called to wish me a happy birthday and they sang me happy birthday and I want to save that for some reason. So the bottom line is you have that flexibility having your voicemails come in all 3 formats, whether it be through the phone, whether it be through the app, or whether it be through your email. So before you nix one, you might want to just kind of pay attention there, or just kind of try that out. So anyway, so the other thing you're going to be able to do through the app, which you couldn't do on your cell phone if you didn't have the app, and that is you're going to be able to, from the app, you're going to highlight that or hit that green bubble, and you're going to get your keypad and you're going to dial *99. Because you're in your network, this is a networked app, and you're networked, you're accessing your network, you're able to dial the *99, and it's going to take you to the voicemail server. So on those days, inclement weather, you know, when it's really, really cold and you can't come into the office, or, you know, everything snowed in, there's a disaster, whatever, you're able to access that those greetings that you may need to modify, which I think is important. And then we have the last tab, which is the chat. And again, you're going to be able to view the chat history, you're going to be able to continue recent chats, and you're going to be able to begin new chats. And if we're familiar with how we use our texting on our phone, we're familiar with how to use the chat on this feature. Now, this is my single favorite thing. I mean, of all the stuff that we've talked about, this is my favorite. People ask first, how do I know it's a call coming in through the app? Well, forget about viewing the caller ID, because caller ID is going to come in as caller ID comes in. And the thing that differentiates my app through my Max UC app versus my phone app on my cell phone is this icon right here. When you see that icon, you're going to know that it's coming in and it's a network call. So I'm going to have the ability to either accept it or reject it. Okay, so decline it. When I answer it, which is accept it, I'm going to have these options. I'm going to be able to hold, transfer, or conference. So Park is not something that I'm going to be able to do from the mobile app, but it is something I'll be able to do from the mobile app on my desktop or laptop. So the mobile app is the one that has those few things that are quote unquote restrictive. The other thing again is that accessing that voicemail portal so that we can view our voicemails online or on our through our browser. But what we are going to have is this thing called Switch. Now, Switch, what is that? Well, I'm on my cell phone, and can you see I only have 21%? And I really don't want to have this call on my cell phone the whole time I have to be on this call. So, how do I get it from my cell phone to my desk phone? And that's what Switch does. So if I press Switch, it's going to then alert my phone. And if I pick up my desk phone handset, I'm no longer talking on my cell phone, I'm talking on my desk phone. And the transition from the caller is seamless. They don't know what you've done. So you haven't missed a beat when you do that. So you can hit Switch. Now, let's take it the other way. I'm on my desk phone and I'm talking and I've got this appointment that I've got to get to and I don't want to be late. And if I don't get off this call in the next 5 minutes, that's what we typically say, right? If I don't get off this call in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be late. Now I don't have to say that. I can say pull. So I'm going to open the app while I'm on the call on my desk phone. And I'm going to see that banner at the bottom. And I'm going to tap that banner and I'm going to pull that call to my cell phone. And as soon as I tap that banner, I'm no longer talking on my desk phone, I'm talking on my cell phone. And again, it is a seamless transition. Your caller has no idea what they've done. And now you have the ability to start walking and walking and walking. So, single, I mean, it's not a big deal. It really is not that big a feature. But the thing is that just being able to transition from one device to the other just is, makes things a whole lot easier for you. For me. So anyway, so just a note, we want to make sure that you understand that some of those features are not going to translate from the desktop version to the mobile version. And then we want to make sure that you just get it installed, log it in, try it out, give it a week. I guarantee you it's going to be something that's going to be life-changing, especially if this is something that's new to you. So with that, I'm going to open it up. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you might have.
The only question I had was, if I were to dial to extension 1804,
So if
how do I go about
if you
doing
don't
that?
have a speed dial,
So if you
you
don't have a speed dial that is pre-programmed for 1804, you're just going to pick up your handset and dial 1804.
Okay, just like before.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great question. Anybody
All right,
else have a question?
You're welcome. Great question. Anybody else have a question?
All right. Well, this is the thing. I know you guys want to get
All
off,
right.
and I really will be
Well,
quick
this
about
is
it.
the
I've
thing.
just
I know you guys
opened
want to
a
get
poll.
off, and I really will
And
be
again,
quick
I
about
want
it.
to make
I've
sure that
just
everybody
opened a
understands I
poll.
will not see the
And
results
again, I
of
want to
this
make
poll.
sure that
I have
everybody
no idea
understands I
what your
will not
answers are
see
going
the
to be. I
results
can
of this
only
poll.
tell
I have
if
no
you started
idea
the
what
poll
your answers are going to
and
be.
if
I can
who's
only
completed
tell
the poll.
if you
And
started
that's
the
not
poll
who, but it's
and if who's
3 of
completed the
6.
poll. And that's not who, but it's
So I've
3
got
of
one
6.
person completed out of 6.
So I've got one
I've got
person
2 people. I've got
completed
3 people,
out of 6.
and I've
I've
got
got
3
2
people who
people. I've
haven't
got 3
started. So,
people.
all right.
And I've got
And
3
that's
people
what
who
that
haven't
poll
started.
is
So,
doing. We're trying to
all
get
right.
feedback.
And that's what that
make sure
poll's
that the
just to do.
content
We're
that
trying to get
presenting
feedback
has,
to make sure that the content
is
that we're
relevant,
presenting
and it's good for
has
you guys. So that's
is
why we're
relevant
doing this. It
and
has nothing
it's
to do
good
with
for you
me.
guys. So that's why we're doing this. It has nothing to do with me.
All right. It looks like we got one more in progress.
All right. It looks like we got one more in progress.
All right. Well, if you have completed the poll, then
All
feel
right.
free
Well,
to
if you
go
have
ahead and
completed
hang
the
up.
poll,
I have to wait
then
for
feel
everyone
free
to
to
complete
go
the
ahead and
poll,
hang up.
and then
I have
close
to
the
wait
poll
for
when I'm
everyone
done.
to
So
complete the
thank you
poll
guys so
and then
much for
close the
joining me
poll when
today.
I'm
I
done.
really do
So
appreciate
thank you
your
guys so
feedback,
much for
and
joining me
good
today. I
luck.
really do appreciate your feedback and
Thanks a
good
lot. We
luck.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.